Hi everybody, Jason Klom with the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. All of 2017 I'm listening to a comedy album a day, and I'm actually caught up as of tonight, a few days behind. If you want to watch the rest of this, you can watch the full thing at youtube.com/comedy on vinyl. So what I have picked are two albums that I haven't heard by two guys who I guess I always forget that there are a couple of theirs that I haven't heard before. I own, I think, every Smothers Brothers album, but there are a couple little variations and weird ones that I've never listened to, just even though I think the Smothers Brothers are the two guys that I could pretty much always be in the mood for. There are times when I'm just not in the mood for certain types of comedy, certain types of music, but it's rare that I wouldn't be in the mood for the Smothers Brothers. These are guys who I grew up with. Some of the first album I think I was ever given was, or at least that I listened to regularly, was, you can't see it here, but Smothers Brothers Live at the Purple Onion. That little background given. The two that I picked are this, which is The Best of the Smothers Brothers, which is not a release album. It's not a regular album. It specifically says for disc jockeys only. And it's not that this is a disc jockey copy. This is a mix that is not a regular public release mix, which you can tell pretty quickly by the fact that there are some songs on here. Actually, most of them, if you look at them, are not cuts from albums. Every once in a while, they are. There are some things that are clearly from albums. I mean, again, a couple of these say that they are, but these sound like different cuts to me. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them are clearly album cuts, but there are a couple in here that I pretty sure are not actually on the album. The reason I got this was because it stood out. Originally, I thought it was like, because I have a copy of the Guido Sarducci album, Breakfast in Heaven, that's black and white and kind of centered in here. The full album cover is shrunk in and put in here. So I assume this is like that, but it's not. It is definitely, it's a mixtape. But I also got it because that right there just says never, never. Do not play Slithery D. It's a 32-second cut, but there are other half-a-minute cuts on here. There's something about Slithery D they just didn't want on this station. I wish I knew what station this was from. The other interesting thing, it is clearly obviously intended for disc jockeys, for radio stations, but there are no cuts or holes or anything. It's a pristine little album. And kind of a boring inner sleeve, with the exception of, actually having the Smothers Brothers on there. Any other comedians? No. But it's fun. These are all bits I've heard before, with maybe one or two exceptions. And that's it. I love the Smothers Brothers, so it would be hard for me to resell you on my love of them. If you hadn't heard the podcast before, I've talked a long time about why I love them so much. But I mean, I could at least reiterate the fact that Tommy's fake stupidity is a delight, and Dickie's just out and out frustration with him is that, coupled with him laughing whenever his brother makes him laugh, just whenever he breaks, is really fantastic. There's this delightful kind of, I mean, it's childishness. It's supposed to be these two grown-up children fighting, and that's enough. That's enough. That's why, people who might have already even been tired of folk music, you can still listen to this. I mean, I'm not a huge folk music person, but I can sing along with these because I know it's coming, or I know that at the very least I'm going to get a good joke in general. Now I'm looking at the back of this, actually. So this is interesting. I hadn't noticed it before. Here we go. Sorry. Well, I'll just point out that whenever this was released, I really wish I knew, because it does not have a year on the front. Oh, lies. 1964, right down in here. So it's 1964. Good for me. I can read. But on the back, it lists these different performances. I'll just read it. I'm going to read it because their performances list is just an interesting. I've never had one of these before. It is stamped promotional copy. All selections in this package were handpicked from the 5 previous Smothers Brothers hit albums. All 5 LPs were and are hits, and very prominent on all LP charts. Now, I'm just wanting it's very possible that maybe I haven't heard a Smothers Brothers album and I just somehow didn't realize it. But I've also heard all of their bits, I thought, digitally years ago before I ever, was nice enough to buy their albums. This particular album is designed to give you the cream of the crop of material that is available for airplay as delivered by the inimitable Smothers Brothers. You no longer have to dig out album after album and sit for tedious but entertaining minutes with a stopwatch and figure out what you can play in the next 2-minute and 11-second open segment. So this is, built for DJs, obviously. We did all that for you. All you need to do is look for a second at the front cover. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay, now you see how simple it is. You not only have your selections and timing, but we also tell you what LP the bit was extracted from. How about that for service? We take you from their very first album, the Smothers Brothers of the Purple Onion, right up to their current chart success. It must have been something I said. In this short span of a little over 2 years of meteoric success, the boys have gathered a wealth of laugh-provoking and funny material, the best of which, at the point of being repetitious, is presented in this package. Of particular interest might be a few of the cuts that are no longer than a hiccup. I refer specifically to the 32-second cut of the adventurous Slithery D. Never play Slithery D on the radio. And the 25 seconds that it takes to tell Santa Claus isn't coming to town, the Western saga of the Hangman that only takes 55 seconds, and last but not least, the singing of I Don't Care is a big fat 35 seconds, all for ideal programming, or as we say down at the pressing plant, instant records. For those of us who care, the following is some of the current itinerary that will keep the Smothers Brothers occupied while you're busy entertaining your audience with these bits of hilarious shticks from their albums, from Morris Diamond. Now, so there we go. And then there's a list of all their dates from 1964. So it's very, not perennial. It is in terms of the content, but not perennial in terms of the purpose of the album. I don't think I've ever had anything like that, where it feels like it's a memo turned into an album. I literally have never noticed that. I've never read the back of this before. I bought this probably 3 years ago on a whim. Thank you, Mercury Records. That's fantastic. It's great, but I think it's the best part of it is that it's just that. It's this interesting little type of album. The other one I picked, I was never sure if I was going to dig it or not, and the only comparison I have is later on when Weird Al did Peter and the Wolf, is Aesop's Fables, the Smothers Brothers way. It's cute. It's written by a gentleman named John McCarthy. Now it says words and music by. There's some Tommy and Dick bits that I'm pretty sure they must have written themselves. I mean, it says here that hey, he wrote this for us, but I'm pretty sure they did their own bits and pieces. Maybe even including the one really bad sexist joke about a woman driver. That honestly, and that's the most offensive they've ever been to me. Genuinely offensive. It's it's a throwaway. Maybe not open-minded, but what are you gonna do? The rest of it is fun, but it is obviously geared at kids. But it is fun to listen to. You might get a little primer on some Aesop's Fables you might not be familiar with or might not remember. But it is them singing, is telling the stories, doing the setup and singing them. Tommy being a dumbass and Dickie correcting him. It's their act, but with these specific fables. It's canned, so it's not live at all, so they can produce it and do little different bits. But it's got the same energy as their live stuff, so it's a lot of fun. And I love that, I don't know, that a stage act like that can translate so well. Just tells you how well written their act must have been. The other side of that is it's quite possible they were just brilliant improvisers. I don't know. I do not know to what degree they wrote, their banter. But it is fun, and I love that thing. They found the kind of the perfect comedy. I can't think of the word, but they found it. They found a way to do comedy that works on every different level. It works for adults, okay? It works for folk singer likers. It works for comedians, comedy likers. It works for people who maybe don't like folk music but do like comedy. It works for people who like subversive stuff, people who don't like subversive stuff. It works for adults. It works for kids, and it also is perfect. It's the perfect in to eventually become a strong, subversive, and then overtly political comedy act 4 years later. 4 years later, these guys are growing out the stashes and just sticking it to a president who had direct control over CBS. Their story's fascinating. I do think that this is, I'm realizing now that I don't know what year this was, and good on me for not doing the research there. But it is fun. Kids enjoy it. It's clearly around the same time, 64, 65. Yeah. Again, can't find the year. I'm a dummy. Hi, cat. I have a cat in the room. But, I said that a million times. Aesop's Fables and the best of the Smothers Brothers. Again, this is not there's no best of Smothers Brothers before this that I know of. There's the golden hits of, and that's the only one I know. And this is a special one that's specifically compiled for DJ, so that's a ton of fun. And this is cute. So, that's it. We're also caught up, so it'll be a comedy album a day from here on out until something happens. Last time it was jury duty. This one day of jury duty totally threw me off. Follow us at Comedy on Vinyl, wherever you can follow us. That's Instagram and YouTube. YouTube as well. Yeah, it's youtube.com/comedy on vinyl. Subscribe here if you would. That would be very helpful. Check out the podcast. It's a lot of fun. Our 6th anniversary episode just released today with James Urbaniak and my producer, Mike Warden. Hasn't been on the show in a while. We talk about Martin Mull's album, I'm Everyone I Ever Loved. And it's a lot of fun to talk about. Got a lot of really good episodes coming up with some very interesting people. An Oscar-nominated producer who also produced my favorite documentary of all time, Beauty is Embarrassing. And good episode to check is Wayne White, actually, from Beauty is Embarrassing and Pee-wee and being an artist. That's about it. If you have recommendations, email me, jason@comedyonvinyl.com, or you can tweet at me at JKLAMM, JKLAM. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a good thing.